What if everything you thought you knew about elderly nutrition was wrong? What if, without realizing it, you're giving your loved ones something every day that's quietly robbing them of their leg strength? And what's worse, it's happening right under your nose. I know, it sounds unbelievable, but just pause for a second. Imagine watching your elderly parent or grandparent slowly lose their ability to walk, to stand, to even move as freely as they used to. And all the while, they're eating foods that little by little are making the problem worse. Foods you probably think are perfectly fine. Can you picture it? It's a heartbreaking reality for many families, and you might be unknowingly contributing to it. But don't worry, we're going to uncover the truth together. You're about to hear some shocking revelations about common foods that are found in almost every senior's diet. I'll walk you through why these foods could be the reason your loved one's mobility is declining, and I'm going to give you the power to make a real change. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the surprising impact these foods have on leg strength and how you can start turning things around with just a few simple changes. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which foods to stop giving your loved ones right now. Foods that you might never have thought twice about. I'll even share the one ingredient you probably didn't suspect is doing the most damage. Trust me, you're going to want to hear this. But before we dive in, if you care about your loved one's health, if you want to see them live a stronger, healthier life, then hit that subscribe button and join us here on Elder Mature Moments, because this is the place where we share crucial tips to help the elderly live their best life. Let's get started. We all want the best for our elderly loved ones, right? We spend time trying to make sure they're comfortable, safe, and well cared for, but sometimes it's the smallest things, the things we don't think twice about, that end up having the biggest impact. And when it comes to their health, it's often the foods they eat that can have unexpected consequences. Think about it. What happens when these foods sneak into their diet day after day and slowly start to weaken their legs? It's not just a simple matter of being older or slow. No, these foods can do more harm than we realize, contributing to a gradual decline that we often miss until it's too late. The damage is subtle, it's slow, but it's real. So let's get into it. The first food we're going to discuss is something you probably have in your kitchen right now. It's so common, so easily accessible, that most people don't realize how damaging it really is. It's often labeled as a quick and convenient option for seniors, and it's found in so many of their meals. But what you don't know about this food could be making a huge difference in their mobility. This food, when consumed too often, can cause a weakening of the muscles, a loss of bone density, and a slow decline in the strength of those legs that you wish would just stay as strong as they used to be. But don't take my word for it just yet. Let me show you why this food is so dangerous. I'll explain exactly how it affects the legs and why, over time, it can take a toll you can't afford to ignore. But wait, before we get to that, there's another food, something even worse than the first one, something you might never have thought of. It's not talked about as much, but trust me, it's far more harmful than you could imagine. And here's the kicker, it's likely something you've been giving your loved one without a second thought. It's in so many of the foods we think are safe. So stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal could change everything you thought you knew about elderly nutrition. I know you're curious now, you'll want to hear about it. But before I dive into that, let's talk a little more about what these foods do to the body and why you need to start paying attention. The truth is, the effects are not always obvious at first. They creep up on you, small changes that may seem harmless at first, but they accumulate over time, and before you know it, you're seeing your loved ones struggle with leg strength, walking with a cane, or even unable to stand for long periods without pain. So let's break it down. The first food I mentioned earlier, when you start looking into it, you'll realize that many seniors eat it without thinking twice, and most of the time it's packaged and marketed as something that's good for them. What could be the harm, right? You'd be surprised. Stick with me, because the next piece of this puzzle is one you won't want to miss. I remember a family telling me about their mother, who was a big fan of ready-made meals. It started out harmless enough. After all, they're quick, easy, and convenient, right? At first she seemed fine, she was getting by, no real complaints. But then over time things started to change. Her legs became weaker, she started having trouble walking, her balance was off, and simple tasks became a struggle. At first they thought it was just part of age, but as the months went by they started to notice something more troubling. There was a pattern, and it wasn't just the typical decline they had expected. The one thing they didn't realize was that processed foods were to blame. Those meals that seemed like a harmless, easy solution were actually contributing to her weakening legs in ways they couldn't have anticipated. Processed foods are packed with hidden salts, sugars, and preservatives, ingredients that may not be immediately obvious, but which can wreak havoc on the body over time. These ingredients cause water retention and inflammation, which can lead to muscle weakness. But it's not just about the taste or the convenience, it's about what's happening inside their bodies. And when you consider that elderly bodies are already at a disadvantage when it comes to retaining strength, the impact of processed foods becomes even more significant. You see, the hidden damage these foods do to the muscles, especially in the legs, is often overlooked. The body simply can't function as it once did, and these foods, which are easy to overlook as just food, are actually sabotaging leg strength. Many families think it's just part of getting older, that these changes are inevitable. They think, oh, it's just the natural process of aging, everyone slows down, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The real issue is how processed foods affect muscle function, especially in the legs. When muscles aren't being properly nourished, they start to weaken. When those muscles weaken, it leads to a whole host of mobility problems, trouble walking, trouble standing, even difficulty getting out of a chair. It's a silent decline, creeping up slowly, and by the time it's noticeable, the damage may already be done. But what if the next food I'm about to tell you about is even worse? It's something many people overlook, but it could have a long-term effect on your loved one's leg strength that most people don't even realize. Stick with me, because the next food is something you need to be aware of, and you might just be shocked to hear what it is. One elderly woman was struggling to walk, and it seemed like the usual aging process had caught up with her. At first, it was just a little bit of discomfort, some stiffness. But over time, things started to get worse. She couldn't stand for as long as she used to, and she needed help getting up from the chair. Her family, worried about her declining health, took her to the doctor, hoping for some answers. The doctors were stumped at first. They tested her for all sorts of conditions, arthritis, muscle atrophy, anything they could think of, but none of the tests seemed to provide a clear explanation. It wasn't until one of the doctors asked about her diet that things started to make sense. She had developed a habit of snacking on sugary treats throughout the day, and it was this seemingly innocent habit that turned out to be the hidden culprit. What they didn't realize was that sugar, something we all know and love, can do a lot more harm than most of us think, especially as we age. Sugar doesn't just cause a temporary energy spike, it has much deeper effects on the body, particularly when it comes to inflammation. You see, sugar causes inflammation in the body, and inflammation, as you might already know, is one of the biggest enemies of muscle health. Over time, this constant inflammation weakens muscles, especially in the legs, making it harder for your loved one to walk, stand, or even move around freely. And when it comes to keeping them strong, sugar is the last thing you want in their diet. But here's where most people make a mistake. It's easy to assume that sugar is only a problem for diabetics, right? After all, we're told that sugar leads to high blood sugar, which is directly linked to diabetes. But what many don't realize is that even without diabetes, sugar can still cause major joint and muscle issues. It's a subtle threat that can sneak up on you, and by the time you start noticing the effects, it might already be too late to reverse some of the damage. The real danger is that sugar not only affects the muscles, but also the joint. It can make the body more prone to conditions like arthritis, further limiting mobility, and if the body is inflamed, it becomes much harder to repair the damage. It's like putting more weight on a structure that's already breaking down. Eventually, it's going to give out. So while sugar might give a temporary satisfaction, it's doing silent damage that you won't see until it's much too late. But hold on, what if I told you the third food I'm about to reveal is even more surprising than sugar? This next one is something you might never have guessed could be a problem, but once you hear about it, you'll want to steer clear of it at all costs. Stay tuned, because this one is truly eye-opening. There was a man, a father, and a grandfather who always seemed to have a balanced diet. He ate his vegetables, drank enough water, and kept his portions in check. His family felt reassured that he was taking care of himself, yet over the years they noticed something troubling. His legs, once strong, started to get weaker and weaker. At first it was subtle. He complained of tiredness, but they chalked it up to age. Then it became harder for him to walk long distances. His family couldn't understand it. He was eating healthy, so what was the problem? It wasn't until he had a routine checkup with his doctor that the truth came to light. The doctor did a deep dive into his eating habits, asking about everything he ate down to the smallest details, and that's when they realized something surprising. Despite his healthy eating habits, one sneaky ingredient had been slipping through the cracks: white bread. You see, white bread and other refined carbs are deceptively simple foods. They don't seem harmful at first glance, but they're packed with refined sugars and offer very little nutritional value. The doctor explained that refined carbs, like white bread, cause blood sugar spikes, and those spikes, they lead to inflammation in the muscles. It's a slow burn, one that creeps up on you. Refined carbs don't just spike blood sugar, they also trigger an inflammatory response in the body, and inflammation in the muscles over time weakens them. It's a gradual decline, but one that becomes more noticeable as the years go on. So while that piece of white bread may feel harmless in the moment, it's secretly contributing to a larger problem, making it harder for your loved one to move and live the active life they once enjoyed. But here's the real kicker. Many families assume that carbs are absolutely necessary for energy. After all, carbs are known as the body's primary fuel source, right? But the truth is, not all carbs are created equal. Refined carbs, like the ones found in white bread, pasta, and sugary cereals, don't provide lasting energy. Instead, they lead to those dangerous blood sugar spikes I mentioned earlier. Whole grains, on the other hand, are absorbed more slowly by the body and don't cause those spikes. So if you're giving your loved one refined carbs regularly, you're unknowingly setting them up for muscle inflammation and weakness. But there's one more food to talk about, a food that's a little harder to avoid. It's something that many people give their elderly loved ones without a second thought, and this one might surprise you too. Stick with me, because this could be the one ingredient that really makes you stop and think. I remember a senior I once spoke to who had a deep love for his daily glass of milk. It was part of his routine every morning without fail. He'd enjoy that cold, creamy refreshment. For years it was just another part of his day, but over time, something started to change. He began noticing stiffness in his legs. What used to be a small ache here and there turned into something more significant, muscle tightness that wouldn't go away. It got so bad he started having trouble getting out of his chair in the morning. At first, he thought it was just aging, but as his family kept a closer eye on his health, they started questioning everything. It wasn't until they spoke to a nutritionist that the truth was revealed. The culprit: dairy. Yes, that very milk he'd been drinking every day for years. It turns out, dairy contains a protein called casein. For some people, especially older adults, casein can trigger inflammation in the body, and inflammation, as we've already seen, is one of the silent enemies of muscle strength. For seniors, this inflammation doesn't just affect their joints, it also affects their muscle. Over time, it leads to weakness, stiffness, and reduced mobility. The more dairy they consume, the worse it gets. Now I know what you're thinking, but dairy is good for bones, isn't it? It's common knowledge that milk is packed with calcium, which is vital for bone health. And for years we've been told that dairy is essential for strong bones, especially as we age. But what's often overlooked is the other side of the equation, the potential downside of dairy on muscle health. The misconception is that dairy automatically equals better bones and stronger muscles, but that's not the full picture. For some seniors, dairy can actually cause more harm than good. While calcium helps strengthen bones, the inflammation caused by casein can create muscle pain and stiffness, particularly in the legs. This is why, for certain individuals, milk and other dairy products might be doing more harm than good, especially when it comes to mobility and muscle strength. But hold on, don't go anywhere just yet. There's still more to uncover. We've talked about some serious offenders so far, but the biggest mistake people make when it comes to senior nutrition is still ahead. You'll want to stay tuned for this one because it's something that's silently affecting millions of families right now. This mistake is so common, and yet it often goes unnoticed. Let's wrap this up with the most crucial change you can make to protect your loved one's leg strength and overall health. Stay with me. It's so easy to overlook the small changes in diet, isn't it? Life moves fast. We're busy taking care of work, family, daily responsibilities, and in the midst of all that, we can miss the subtle signs of decline in our loved ones. It might start with just a little stiffness in their legs, a slight limp, or a bit of fatigue, and before you know it, their leg strength has deteriorated. They might even find themselves avoiding walks or hesitating to climb stairs. It's easy to shrug it off, thinking it's just a part of age, but the reality is this decline could be directly linked to what they're eating and, more importantly, what they're not eating. Now I want you to pause for a second and really think about this. Imagine this happening to your parent, your grandparent, someone you care deeply about. How would you feel if you noticed their strength fading, if they could no longer move around freely, if they started withdrawing from activities they once loved? It's painful to think about, but here's the thing, if you had known earlier, would you have caught those signs soon? Would you have noticed the small changes? Could you have made a difference? The good news is, now that you know you have the power to change their future, the ability to help your loved ones regain their mobility and strength is right in front of you. It's not too late. You're not powerless in this situation, not at all. By simply making a few dietary adjustments, eliminating some of these harmful foods, you can restore their leg strength, enhance their quality of life, and give them the ability to move freely once again. Think about that for a moment. Imagine seeing them walk without pain, climb stairs with confidence, and enjoy life without feeling restricted by weak muscles. It's possible. All it takes is the right knowledge and the willingness to make the changes that will truly benefit them. This isn't some distant hope or wish, it's something within your control, and you're not alone in this journey. Together we can make sure that the seniors in our lives don't have to suffer from avoidable issues, that they can continue living vibrant, active lives for as long as possible. You've already taken the first step by being here, and that's the most important part. So let's keep moving forward. Stay with me, because the changes you make today could make all the difference tomorrow. There's still one more crucial piece to this puzzle, and you don't want to miss it. Keep watching, because we're about to turn this knowledge into action and help you safeguard your loved one's leg strength for years to come. If we ignore these signs, if we keep allowing these harmful foods to sneak into their diets, it's not just a small inconvenience, it's much more serious. Over time, it could lead to severe muscle loss, increased risk of falls, and eventually long-term immobility. Can you imagine how devastating that would be for your loved one? The pain of watching them struggle, the fear of what could happen next. It doesn't have to go that far, but here's the truth. By acting now, you have the power to stop this before it gets worse. And I want you to really understand this. Their leg strength and their future depend on us. When we look at our elderly loved ones, we see the people who raised us, loved us, and cared for us. They've given so much to us, and now it's our turn to make sure they're getting the care they deserve. It's not just about food, it's about making choices that honor their needs, that recognize the little things that can make a big difference. We have a responsibility to give them the best possible chance at independence, at mobility, and at a life full of quality moments. These are tough realities to face, I know. No one wants to think about the worst case scenario, but we have to. The stakes are high, and if we keep making the same mistakes, we risk losing something that cannot be replaced, our loved one's ability to live freely. But that doesn't have to happen. We have a choice, and it's up to us to make the right one. Now is the time to be proactive. Now is the time to change their future by making healthier, more informed decisions. If we act today, we can protect them from the challenges that lie ahead and help them hold on to their strength for as long as possible. This isn't just about food, it's about taking control of their health and making sure they don't face the devastating consequences of neglecting what they eat. The food we feed them directly impacts their quality of life, but we have the power to stop that decline. We can reverse the damage and give them back what they deserve, a strong, vibrant life. So let's not wait any longer. The time to act is now. Let's commit to helping them stay strong, mobile, and healthy. Together, we can make sure they keep moving no matter what age they are. The change starts with you. The change starts today. We've covered a lot today: processed foods, sugar, refined carbs, and dairy. Each of these ingredients plays a hidden role in weakening leg strength, and the impact can be far-reaching. But here's the twist. The final piece of the puzzle is something that many people overlook, something so simple yet so impactful. We'll reveal this crucial information in our next video. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. It could be the game changer you've been looking for. Now, I'm curious, which of these foods surprised you the most? Have you noticed any of these effects in your elderly loved ones? Maybe you've seen a decline in their mobility without realizing the foods could be a part of the problem. Let's talk about it in the comments below. Share your experiences, ask questions, or simply offer your thoughts. We're building a community here where we can all learn from one another and make informed choices. And if you found these tips helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Elder Mature Moments for more life-changing health insights. We're here to guide you every step of the way to ensure your loved ones live their healthiest, happiest lives. Like this video if you think this information could help someone you know, because no one should go through this journey alone. Help spread the word. Stay tuned for our next video, where we'll uncover even more ways to improve your loved one's health, from new food insights to simple lifestyle changes. We've got so much more in store for you. Thanks for watching, and remember, take care of those you love. They deserve the best, and with a little guidance, we can make that happen. Until next time, stay healthy, stay strong, and keep looking out for the ones who matter most.